Ask yourself, why are you in the Ponderosa? He is lost. It covers 1,000 square miles. So why don't we say, listen, where are you from? St. Louis? Good. Would you like to stay with us for a week? Anyone who watched Bonanza knew Lorne Greene as a strong person. The kind of person you would never think would hate someone or hold a grudge. But he secretly held a lot of anger against some people in Hollywood for years. He was so strong that he didn't want to see some of their faces ever again. That the man who played the steady and wise Ben Cartwright and kept the Ponderosa together through a lot of episodes could feel so badly about something seems strange. But there are problems in the entertainment business that most people don't see, and Greene had his fair share of painful moments that left scars that will last a lifetime. The first person on this list of conflicts may come as a surprise to many, since he was probably the most famous cowboy in movie history. When it came to Western movies, John Wayne was a huge star, and his opinion was very important in Hollywood. Wayne and Greene had a disagreement, but it didn't lead to fights or loud arguments in public. It wasn't from a loud thing, but from something just as bad. Greene was badly hurt by one comment made at the wrong time, and it never really got better. The event took place at the Beverly Hills Hotel in April 1966 during a news conference. There were a lot of reporters and photographers in the room, all squished together to get every word from the stars. The way Wayne moved through the crowd made it seem like he owned the place. He was sure that everyone was there in part because of him. A reporter asked Wayne if he thought TV westerns were hurting the image of real Western movies. Wayne saw an opening. In that way that he always did, he leaned toward the microphone, raised one eyebrow, and said something that Greene would remember for years to come. Wayne said that Bonanza was the best Western show for people who wanted to watch something with no real blood or grit. The room filled with laughter. It was great for photographers and writers. One reporter even yelled that the quote would be on the front page of tomorrow's newspapers for sure. By that evening, Wayne's words had shown up in a lot of media. Greene found a stack of them outside the door to his changing room at Paramount Studios. After the fact, someone on the crew remembers that Greene didn't yell or throw anything when he saw those papers. He did nothing but stand there and stare at Wayne's writing as he thought about how embarrassing it was to be seen by everyone. The cut also wasn't left to heal on its own. A couple of weeks after that news conference, something else happened that brought everything back up. At a charity dinner in Beverly Hills where donors, producers, and studio leaders were all present. When Wayne saw Greene, he walked right up to him while everyone watched. Someone at a table next to Wayne slapped Greene on the back hard and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. His words made Greene think that TV cowboys had it easy, and he suggested that Greene work with real dust and dirt if he wanted to know what it took to make real Western movies. People laughed again. Greene kept a nice smile on his face, but people who knew him well saw that his eyes were looking down. The small clues that Wayne's words had hit home. What happened after these public words happened quickly and hurt a lot. Radio shows started making fun of Bonanza. Newspaper columnists began making comparisons that made Wayne seem like the real American West, while Greene's work was seen as nothing more than a commercial version that has been cleaned up for large TV viewers. NBC, which showed Bonanza, felt like it had to react. Because they wanted to change how people saw Greene, they made him do interviews, which made him look even worse because it was clear that Wayne's words had hurt him. Wayne never said anything to explain what he meant. It was never in his nature to change his mind or admit that what he said had hurt the image of another actor. From that point on, the two men's friendship ended for good. Greene told close friends and family that Wayne had made him feel like an outsider in his own genre, like he didn't quite belong in Western entertainment, even though he had spent years building his business there. Greene admits that feeling never really went away, even when Bonanza was doing really well. The second big problem Greene had in Hollywood was with Clint Eastwood, who was another person who had a very different take on Western roles. Greene and Eastwood started what you might call a silent war. Most people didn't know anything was wrong, but Eastwood was on Greene's secret list of people with whom he had troubled relationships because he casually changed what people thought Western heroes should be like. That too at the exact same time that Greene was still responsible for making Bonanza fun and interesting. In late 1971, Eastwood was pushing his movie Dirty Harry in a crowded press room. This is where the trouble started. A reporter talked about the older way of moral cowboys that used to be on TV shows. Everyone in the room knew that this was a reference to Ben Cartwright and shows like Bonanza. Eastwood didn't try to be polite when he answered. He didn't consider what he said or try to be nicer. Instead, he leaned forward a little, gave that famous half-smile that would become his trademark, and said something that tore right through the image Greene had worked so hard to build over years. Eastwood said that real cowboys don't think about what's right and wrong all the time. Instead, they focus on staying alive. People who were with Greene saw that he closed the magazine very slowly after reading that quote. He seemed to be thinking about something painful. For Greene, this was the start of a quiet dislike for Eastwood. Greene thought Eastwood's comment wasn't just making fun of a fictional figure. It went against the whole theory that Greene had spent years defending through his role as Ben Cartwright. The thought that Western heroes could be both strong and moral, that they could stand for more than just killing and the need to survive. After a few months, the big blow came at a party on Universal's backlit. Tonight was a nice night, and studio leaders were mixing with each other and making connections. Eastwood was asked what he thought of the Bonanza family, the Cartwrights. Eastwood answered with a shrug and a smile that meant nothing, looking away as he did so. He said that the Cartwrights were the polite side of the West, but he wasn't interested in being nice himself. The comment wasn't said out loud or with clear intention, but it was clear that it hurt. People close who were paying attention could see that Greene's facial expression changed just a little. The results came quickly after. Magazine columnists started calling Eastwood the new frontier of Western entertainment and Greene the sunset of an age that was coming to an end. In studio meetings, directors said that today's audiences didn't want heroes with morals who talk about their troubles. They wanted Eastwood's rough, cold way of dealing with conflict. Greene saw as younger viewers slowly lost respect and loyalty to his work. This wasn't because they didn't like what he had created, but because popular culture was changing beyond the style he represented. Because of that change, Greene became less important in Western culture. After those events, Greene never talked to Eastwood directly again. In interviews or news conferences, he never said anything bad about him. In private talks with people he trusted, though, he admitted what everyone close to him already knew. Greene said Eastwood had not made personal attacks on him. Eastwood had instead changed Greene's whole world, which made his style of Western hero seem old-fashioned and pointless. Greene never really got over the hurt he felt when his tastes changed and he felt left behind. The third name on Greene's list of bad relationships might be the most painful for him because it involves someone from his own show. Michael Landon, who played Little Joe Cartwright, went from being in the show to being Greene's most fierce artistic rival. When Landon decided that Bonanza didn't need Greene to be at the center of every story anymore, the tension between them blew up. This change caught Greene by surprise more than it does with outside Hollywood figures because it came from his own TV family. In late 1966, when Greene was working hard to keep production running like a well, the trouble began. Disciplined business, Landon started to change how he was doing things on the show in a quiet way. Eventually, he started writing his own plays with plots that interested him. Even worse, he started sending these draft scripts directly to NBC executives, skipping the usual chain of command where Greene's input would have been included. When the network accepted one of Landon's episodes, he walked onto the set with the letter of approval almost right away. Like he had won something. He tapped the paper and said something sharp about how the network seemed ready for something new. When Greene heard this, he stopped moving for a split second, but that was long enough for him to understand what Landon was saying. Landon wanted artistic control over the direction of the show, and he got it by not working with Greene at all. From there, things got worse. Landon wrote more episodes and pushed for dramatic plots that focused on younger characters instead of Ben Cartwright. These changes slowly changed what Bonanza was becoming. The show began to stray from what Greene had originally envisioned for it. Greene saw scenes move away from his character, Landon get more and more attention, and NBC officials praise every change Landon suggested. The network liked the new direction and thought Landon would give a show that had been going for years some new life. In 1972, during a meeting to write the story for an episode called Forever, things finally broke down. When Greene understood what he was reading, his face got tighter as he turned the pages of the script. His own character, Ben Cartwright, the father who had been the show's center from the start, had been relegated to the background, having little to say and no effect on the plot. From across the table, Landon looked steady and sure of himself. He told Greene straight out that the viewers wanted the show to go in a different way. It wasn't rude or angry of Greene. He just set the script down on the table, slowly stood up, and left the meeting room. After the fact, a producer who was there said that the room was so quiet after Greene went that it sounded like glass had been broken. After that day, there were two groups of people on the Bonanza set. Some people believed the show needed to change because of Landon's creative drive, while others still thought Greene was the heart and soul of what made Bonanza work. Magazines for entertainment started calling Landon the new architect of Bonanza. This title pushed Greene out of the spotlight on his own show, but not in a loud way. Greene never talked to Landon about this in public. He never talked about how he felt about Landon's growing power in talks. But when they were alone, he told her one of the worst things he had ever said. Greene said Landon hadn't stolen anything from him on purpose or as an act of evil. Despite that, he still got everything that was important. Being let down by someone he had worked with for years hurt Greene more than any disagreement with a rival from outside the company. Pernell Roberts, who played Adam Cartwright on Bonanza, was the fourth person who made Greene's life hard. Roberts is one of Greene's most famous enemies because he was the only actor who spoke out against Greene without hesitating or trying to be polite. From the start of the show, Roberts didn't see Bonanza as a family story where everyone got along. He saw it as a debate stage where he could always question the creative direction. Greene was always the one Roberts seemed to criticize the most. The fight started when they were talking about a plot in the early 1960s. While the rest of the production team tried to keep the peace and keep things running easily, Roberts leaned back in his chair, picked up a script, and said something negative about it in front of the whole group. The stories on Bonanza, he said, were too clean and didn't make sense. He then said that Ben Cartwright wasn't really a father figure, but just a fantasy that didn't show how complicated people really are. When Roberts said this, everyone in the room turned to look at Greene. Greene didn't say anything right away, but his body language made it clear to everyone how he felt. His posture got stiffer. And you could feel the stress. Roberts didn't give up. He kept going and freely said bad things about the writing, the show's tone, and Greene's character in particular. When things got really heated one afternoon in 1963, Roberts hit a script against the meeting table so hard that it made a sound. He told them that Adam, his character, couldn't grow or develop properly because Ben Cartwright wouldn't let him. It seemed like Greene's sexist character was stopping other characters on the show from growing. Roberts looked at Greene for a long time before he spoke. The fact that Adam picked to stay with his family, he said, showed strength, not weakness. Roberts disagreed by shaking his head. He then got up from his chair and left the room. After such an argument, the writers and other production staff were stuck, not knowing what to do next. The problems went beyond just script talks. Roberts stopped going to promotional events and wouldn't go to charity events that were related to the show. This meant that Greene had to answer questions from the press about how well the group got along and whether everyone worked together behind the scenes. NBC officials begged Greene to keep the peace and keep harmony looking good, which put him in the role of mediator, which he didn't want to do and didn't think he should have to. In 1965, something happened that made it impossible to fix the bond again. Roberts talked to the San Francisco Chronicle, and quickly, word got around Hollywood about what he said. Roberts made it clear in the talk that he didn't believe in Ben Cartwright as a person. He said the figure was made up and not real because they were too good to be true. Greene saw this as more than just a criticism of the way the story was told or the writing. It felt like a direct attack on the figure he had worked so hard to make over years, putting a lot of emotional weight and discipline into making someone people could look up to. Roberts and Greene never got along again after that interview came out, and the wound between them never healed. Guy Williams made it to the top of Greene's list even though he was only a guest player and not a regular cast member. He did this by testing Greene's temper in a way that no one else had. Williams is in a unique situation because he was the only one who pushed Lorne Greene so far that the calm patriarch of Bonanza actually left the set in the middle of filming. It wasn't about pride or general anger. It happened because Greene couldn't believe how badly Williams broke the rules of discipline and respect that he had been upholding for years. As soon as Williams showed up for his guest part in late 1967, chaos began. Most of the players who came to work on Bonanza did so in a quiet, professional way, ready to get to work. Williams did the exact opposite. He drove up to the studio in a convertible and was greeted by reporters who he had clearly told ahead of time would be there. Some on the crew said that Williams looked like he thought he was shooting another episode of Zorro, the show that made him famous. A Greene watcher stood far away and clenched his jaw. Williams had broken what Greene saw as an unspoken but important rule of working on the Ponderosa set: respect the work itself, not the focus or the attention. This led to endless retakes. Williams insisted on cutting scenes over and over, But it wasn't because he wanted to do a better job or make a better work of art. He wanted changes to be made to the lighting, camera angles, and even where Greene's body was placed so that Williams' profile wouldn't be hidden in any shot. While one scene was going on, Williams told them loud enough for everyone to hear that they needed to do the take again because his character, not Ben Cartwright, should be in charge. Greene did not make a fuss over it. While he didn't make a fuss or raise his voice, the uncomfortable silence in the room was broken by his cold, fixed gaze on Williams. Everyone there knew that something very bad was going on. In the middle of the week, things reached their breaking point. A simple scene with only 2 lines of dialogue between the characters went off track when Williams cut everything off in the middle of the take and told them to stop. He said that the scene as it was being made didn't show him in the best light. Greene slowly turned around and looked straight at Williams for a long time. Then he put his hat on a nearby table and left the set without saying a word to anyone. The whole production stopped for the whole afternoon. NBC officials rushed to step in and figure out what to do to fix the problem. Williams tried to play down what had happened by acting like it wasn't a big deal. But the harm was already done, and everyone knew it. That day, everyone who worked on the set knew exactly what had happened. Williams hadn't just hurt Greene's pride or made him mad for a short time. He had broken one of Greene's most important rules about how trained actors should act on a set. Insiders will never forget the line that Greene used to quietly sum up how he felt about what happened. He said some people don't just break the rules of proper business behavior, they ruin the whole room and the mood that everyone has worked hard to build. In their view, Williams and Greene had done just that. When you think about all of these fights, they do paint a picture of Lorne Greene that the public never really saw when Bonanza was on TV. For most people, he was just Ben Cartwright, the steady, wise father figure who always knew what to say and do. Behind the scenes, though, Greene had to deal with jealousies at work, creative disagreements, and personal slights that hurt him deeply and will never go away. Different people may have different ideas about whether his anger and resentment were deserved or whether Hollywood's competitive nature just made rivalries too big. It's clear that even someone as stable as Lorne Greene had private wounds that never fully healed. This reminds us that the entertainment business often creates problems and stresses that fans don't see from their couches.